Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are back in Sweden, as you may be able to tell from the change in background. Having had all these problems with my flights, I finally made it back on the 28th of January, and over the next few weeks we have lots and lots of Swedish beers to review. So unfortunately I lost about 2 weeks of kind of filming time and review time that I had planned for my January Lokalis Moskalikt order from Systembolaget, and then of course the February order is going to arrive very soon, and the February order is a good one. There's lots of really good stuff coming out in February, so yeah, it's going to be a little bit crazy over the next few weeks actually. Lots and lots of Swedish beers to review for you and publish, but I hope you enjoy them nonetheless, and of course there's a good bunch of foreign beers to go on top of that as well. So yeah, publications will be coming thick and fast over the next month or so, so that I can kind of catch up and get to a stage where I want. But like I say, over the next kind of couple of months I do want to get the channel back to kind of one review a day. It's just I've had so many good beers and it seems a shame not to make review videos for them, and I drink very little outside of the reviews that I do actually. So yeah, that's it. But yeah, lots of good Swedish reviews to come over the next little while, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on all of these beers. For this one then, we are going to return to one of my favourite Swedish breweries actually, and I've heard that this beer is pretty good, so I thought this would be a good one to kick off with. So for this one then, we will head up to Gothenburg once again, Göteborg as you would say in Swedish, the Swedish craft beer capital up there on the west coast. Got to get the catchphrase in when we're doing Gothenburg beers, as you'll know if you've watched for any length of time. But for this review we are going to return to OO Brewing, and this one is the latest instalment from their 100 series, which is their single hopped IPA series. This one comes in at 6.5% ABV, New England style IPA, and this one is called the 100 Nelson Sauvin. So I've heard from a couple of the Swedish guys that I follow on Instagram, Beerstagrammers I guess we could call them. I can't remember exactly who it was that was that said that this one was one of the best ones that they've had in this series so far. But yeah, this one apparently has gone down very, very well. And Nelson Sauvin is one of my favourite hops actually. I love the Kiwi hops, and you know, Nelson Sauvin is the kind of archetypical one, I guess you could say. Motueka seems to be very popular these days as well, but you've got many, many different hops down there in New Zealand. Some of them very low alpha acid actually, but you know, the New Zealand hops have a great reputation, and quite rightly so in my opinion. But yeah, Nelson Sauvin, as we know, is the kind of archetypical Kiwi hop. It comes in at about 16% alpha acid if I remember rightly. Lovely big kind of green grapey flavours. So yeah, it's got a hell of a spicy character to it as well actually if you use it as an early addition hop. So we might see some of that in this particular series. But for those of you that don't know, OO Brewing, they do the 100 series. We get a release of that maybe every couple of months through Systembolaget. They've got their 50/50 series, and we get one of those a month through the local releases in Systembolaget as well. But these two series of beer that they have are great for you know, basically ingredient education. So I would highly recommend that you have a go at some of these beers if you do come across them. I love the 100 and the 50/50 series from OO Brewing, so that's something that I always make sure that I pick up every month. But yeah, definitely nice to return to OO Brewing after what, about a month or something like that, and hopefully this turns out to be another nice beer actually, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one. So yeah, let's go for it then guys. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from OO Brewing before, and there will be more in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to quite regularly at the moment, and it always is added to regularly, so I hope you enjoy that. But as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about OO Brewing then, on to my brewery notes. So OO Brewing, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Gothenburg, Göteborg on the Swedish west coast, and the company was founded back in 2011 by Olaf and Ole Andersson, who are childhood friends. But for many years these guys were also avid home brewers, and they'd always been really interested in beer, but Ole apparently was heavily involved in the Gothenburg beer scene since pre-drinking age, which if I remember rightly in Sweden is either 19 or 20. I always forget because one of them them, I think, is when you can drink in a bar. I think 18 you can drink in a bar, 19 there's something else that you can do, and I think at 20 you can buy from Systembolaget, so yeah, a bit strange. But basically, yeah, Ole was the original head brewer at Stigbergets Brewery, and he was the one who really kind of brought the whole New England IPA haze craze into Sweden. But this is where the original OO brewing beers were produced. But while Ole is doing the brewing, Olaf manages the business side of the brewery, and for quite a period of time he was working in Copenhagen and then doing all of this stuff for OO Brewing by distance. But I think now he is based in Gothenburg, if I remember rightly. But apparently these guys just enjoy making beers that they'd love to drink themselves, and it's gone very well for them. But in April of 2017, Ole left Stigbergets Brewery and then fully invested his time at OO, with the company investing in a new brewery in the Hisingen area near the Tingstedt Bridge in Gothenburg, and this facility is equipped with a 2,000 litre brewing system, and this means that they can brew up to a maximum capacity of 500,000 litres of beer per year. In the first year that they were operating there, they brewed about 100,000 litres, and they've basically been expanding that up over the last few years. But in 2019 they apparently brewed around 300,000 litres. I don't think they've released the figure for 2020 yet, but I'm not sure whether that would have increased or not actually. But as of January 2021, when I'm reviewing this beer for you, they've produced around 75 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and like I've told you before, these guys are a pretty prolific brewery actually. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about the brewery for the moment with these guys. If you want to learn more about them, of course, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all those different beers that they've done. So yeah, I think this one should be a really interesting one. But yeah, I've had very good beers from OO Brewing over the years. Probably Charismatico is one of the ones that that I've really enjoyed. I've also seen that they're re-releasing Muscles, which I always thought Muscles and Evergreen were very nice West Coast IPAs back in the day, and I've seen that they're re-releasing Muscles as part of the February Systembolaget release. So I'm not sure whether to get one of those because I've got enough beer to review as it is. But it would be maybe cool to do a kind of collaboration review with somebody on that. We'll need to see about that. I've got somebody in mind, so we'll keep an eye out for that. We'll maybe see about doing that. But yeah, regardless, that's all I can really tell you about OO Brewing for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So I'll just have a little brief look at the artwork on this one before we open up. As you can see, this is typical for the OO Brewing 100 series, you know, that typical kind of matte background that you'll get from these beers. There you can see the OO Brewing symbol, and there you go, and you can also see this is the data side of the beer as well. You always get these on the OO Brewing beers. But yeah, this one I think seems to be it seems to be it seems, you know, just to be the same as the other ones. But like I said earlier, 6.5% New England IPA, this one, single hop with Nelson Sauvin, and I think this should be pretty nice. So 440ml can, this one I believe usually these beers cost about 45 Swedish kroner or 49, I always forget. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. So just to translate that for you, 45 Swedish kroner is somewhere in the region of £4 sterling, probably about $5 American. Maybe about $5.25, but yeah, about €5 roughly, so maybe a little bit more than $5 American. So yeah, but for a 6.5% IPA, that is pretty good, I think. So yeah, that should be enough for the moment. We'll let the head calm down and then we'll put the last little bit in before we do the tasting. But I'll tell you something, you can smell the aroma of this already. It smells absolutely lovely. So yes, as you can see and as you would expect from a New England IPA, this one's poured, if we shine the light through it, this is poured a lovely, very kind of rich, kind of very rich and slightly darker yellow colour. You can see that there's a solid finger and a little bit of a frothy, I would say kind of cream coloured head on this one. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few just going up towards the bottom of that head there, but you can see there are one or two little bits of sediment just floating in this one, but that's unusual for an OO Brewing beer, and again it is just because I'm drinking this one a little bit after I would have normally. You know, normally I would be drinking these beers when they've, you know, I order them on the 1st of the month, then I usually get them roughly about the 10th and then do the unboxing and then drink the IPA. I usually drink the IPAs pretty quickly, so this beer is maybe about 2 weeks older than I would normally have it, maybe a little bit more. But yeah, it certainly looks the part. Nice kind of rich yellow colour, this one. I would compare it to a sort of, you know, darker mango juice or something. But yeah, I always like to compare these New England IPAs to sort of different fruit juices and stuff like that. But yeah, as you can see, if you put your fingers behind the glass there is a significant degree of haze to this one. Not the haziest of IPAs you're going to come across right enough, and you can see, if you put the light through this, you can see a degree of transparency to it. So yeah, certainly looks nice. But for a New England IPA or a hazy IPA, whatever you want to call it, the appearance of this one is not particularly surprising, especially if you've had beers from this brewery before. But yeah, let's have a closer look at the aroma of this one then and see how we get on. Oh, that does smell very nice. I'm curious as to how they'll have done this in this particular beer, because like I said, Nelson Sauvin can have a hell of a spicy character to it if you use it as an early addition hop. So I'm guessing that just going from the aroma here, most of the hops will have been added in the latter stages. Remember, when you add hops earlier on during the wort boil, that's when you get more bitterness and things out of them. But if you add them later and later, that's when you get the that's when you start to get the more kind of juicy and fruity notes coming out of the beer. So yeah, I like how that I do like how that goes together on this one. You can smell a little bit of both here. But yeah, straight away with this beer, let's focus on the malty side of things. This one to me smells a little bit more kind of barley maltish than some of the other ones that I've had before. You get a little bit more kind of brown sugar out of this one, I think. That could just be because it's a little bit, you know, it could just be because it's a little bit older right enough. But yeah, you definitely get a nice kind of white bready base to the beer. You can smell a little bit of the bitiness of the wheat if you take the aroma in a little bit more, and you do get a wee bit of the oaty smoothness. But I think this beer has a little bit more kind of, a few more sort of caramelly and, you know, McVitie's digestive biscuity elements to it. Yeah, there is just something that's telling me there's a little bit more in this. Maybe the kind of boozy, alcohol-y side of this beer is just coming out a little bit more, actually. So I really like, I do like that, actually. It'll be interesting to see what this beer has in that sense. But it's got a lovely kind of sweetness to the malt base, and you guys know, if you've watched the channel for any length of time, I do enjoy a little bit of sweetness in the malt base of these beers. But yeah, the aroma coming out of this one on the malty side of things is very, very nice. The more that I smell of it, the more I start to get some wheaty elements as well, which is quite interesting. So yeah, take a little bit of time and just enjoy that aroma before you get stuck in. But on the hoppy side of things, it is kind of what you would expect if you know this hop. So yeah, for me, there's a big little bit of floral aromaticity. You've got some really nice kind of big spicy elements to it. So yeah, you've got it kind of has everything you'd want. It doesn't smell overly dank, this beer, and that's kind of what indicates that most of the hops have been added later on in the latter stages of it. But yeah, the quality that you get out of this one is quite nice, actually. Yeah, so it's, with the green side of things in this beer, yeah, you get a little tiny bit of earthiness out of it, but for me, the green component of the beer is overwhelmingly kind of floral and aromatic. There's a nice little bit of grassiness coming out of the beer as well. So yeah, these are both kind of things that you would expect, but normally if you add Nelson Sauvin earlier on in the boil, it'll give you a hell of a spiciness, and it really does smell almost quite dank, actually. But you're getting all the fruity elements that you would expect out of this beer as well, actually. You're getting all of that. It looks very, very nice. And on the fruity side of things, there's a few interesting things going on as well. So I mean, you get that kind of white green grapey thing that you always expect of Nelson Sauvin. You get a few more kind of oily, like gooseberry like notes out of it as well. And it does almost have just a wee bit, there is almost, maybe, I want to say there's a tiny bit of lime coming out of this. Now, Nelson Sauvin won't normally give you lime, but just the aroma of the beer overall does seem to kind of give me a little bit of lime, which I think is quite interesting. But yeah, the aroma that comes out of this, I think, is very, very nice. So take a little bit of time and just enjoy that aroma before you get stuck into the beer. I think this one is really, really nicely executed, actually. So yeah, just take a bit of time and then ponder that over for yourself before you get stuck in. But I think it's time to try this beer now. It's always important, though, to ponder over the aroma, as I say. So yeah, let's go for it. This one is the 100 Nelson Sauvin, a New England IPA coming in at 6.5% ABV from the wonderful OO Brewing. based in Hisingen in Gothenburg, Göteborg up on the Swedish west coast. Nice to return to some Swedish beers, and as I say, I heard this one is pretty good, so let's go for it. Slange, skål, cheers. Yes. That is pretty nice, I have to say. Now, I mean, I'll say straight away, you can taste this one isn't quite at its optimum condition. It's just getting towards the end of the kind of optimum period, if you like. But I have to say, it is a really damn solid beer, actually. So thumbs up to OO Brewing once again. They've got another solid beer here, and it shows off the Nelson Sauvin quite nicely. Yeah, so it's interesting. It's kind of everything you would want from one of these OO Brewing beers. And as I say, these are by no means the most flashy and kind of crazy beers you're going to get from OO. By no stretch of the imagination are they that. But they're designed to show off these hops really nicely. And again, this one's pulled off very, very well. First thing I'm noticing about this beer, we'll always start on the malt base. The first thing I'm noticing about this beer is how well it's just the nice kind of smoothness of the malt base. So I mean, straight away with this one, you get a nice kind of smooth white bready quality there. That just blankets the middle of your palate, and as you go across it, as you go across that kind of middle of your palate, that just forms the very backbone of the beer. So yeah, lovely soft kind of barley malt, white bready qualities there. That blankets the middle third of your tongue, and as you go further back into the back third of your palate, you can feel there is a little bit more of a kind of bread crusty quality there on that border region between middle third and back third of your palate. But pardon me, into the back third of your palate, there's definitely more kind of wheatiness coming out of the beer, and the wheat in this one actually comes across as a little bit more sort of fluffy, I would say, which is quite interesting. So yeah, bear that in mind with this beer. The kind of bready notes you get out of this, I think, are very, very nice. But yeah, the fruity side of this beer, I think, just complements all that quite well. That's, the fruity side of it's coming out just really, really nicely. But yeah, in terms of the malty side of things, again, it develops very nicely. So yeah, like I say, the back third of your palate has a nice kind of fluffiness to it. As you move further forward, you get a bit more of the kind of bread crusty note again. And then as you move into the middle third of your palate, you can feel the thickness just drops away a little bit. You've got the soft white bready notes underneath. Then you can feel the kind of oaty creaminess just sitting on top there. There is a little bit of that kind of Werther's Original kind of butter candy sort of thing coming out of the beer, which is kind of what you would expect. So yeah, there is a little bit of that kind of butter candy kind of thing coming out of this one. So yeah, I do like how that how all of that goes together in this beer. I think it's kind of what you would expect, to be honest with you. Quite a few of these New England IPAs these days have that, quite a lot of them have this that just kind of Werther's Original type thing. So I do like a little bit of sweetness, but based on the aroma, the sweetness that you get out of the malty side of this beer is a little bit less than I was expecting, to be honest. I thought it would be a little bit more kind of prominent, but yeah, the fruity side of this beer as well just kind of complements that kind of sweetness very nicely. But yeah, I thought this beer was going to be quite kind of caramelly, if that makes sense, but you don't get too much of that out of this one. But yeah, the kind of the sort of Werther's Original sit on top of the kind of oaty quality that the beer has. But yeah, I think that covers the malty side of things quite nicely. It's quite a bready. I think this one leans a little bit more towards the kind of barley malt side of things, but as I say, remember, I'm not drinking this beer at quite the freshness that I would drink these beers normally, so bear that in mind. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little touch of earthiness there, which you get from most hops, to be honest with you. But as you move further forward, there is a little bit of herbal character there, but very quickly it starts to become kind of big and floral and aromatic, actually, so I like that about this one for sure. So yeah, by no means is this beer going to blow the head off you in terms of bitterness either. New England IPAs don't tend to do that. But yeah, as you come further forward along the sides of the palate, it's got a nice level of kind of floral aromaticity to it, and then it doesn't develop a spiciness though. And as I say, usually Nelson Sauvin, if you've used, I don't think they've used a lot of this hop in the early edition. I think, you know, a lot of it is coming in the later edition. But yeah, you do get a nice little bit of a kind of resonating floral aromaticity out of the beer. Then round the front curve of the palate, the beer is just a little bit lighter and more grassy actually, which I really like. So yeah, around the very front curve of the tongue as well, that grassy note, it just adds a nice little bit of depth to the fruity part of the beer as well, which I think is very, very nicely done. But yeah, on that front third of your palate, as I always say, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. And again, there's quite a lot going on with this one in that sense as well. It is very straight shooting in some ways, but it's got a nice level of depth to it. So underneath that kind of front third of your palate, you get a nice kind of smooth, I think it's mainly a kind of oatiness in there, but you do get a few of the kind of barley malt, white bready elements there. But yeah, that front third of your palate's got a lovely just kind of gooseberry, white green grapey note. I mean, the whole front of your palate, that whole front third of your palate is just white green grapes, you know, a little bit of gooseberry. I would say that it gets a little bit more kind of oily as you come further forward, like on the front half of that front third of your palate. It is distinctly more kind of oily, and there is a wee bit of a kind of citrusy, zesty note in there as well. I was picking up a bit of lime in the aroma with this beer, I think, but really no, there's just a little bit of grassy zestiness on the kind of front tip of your tongue. So I really like how all of that goes together in this beer. Actually, I mean, it's everything in this just goes together really quite nicely. You know, the fruity side of things complements everything else very nicely, and I can see why the Swedish Beerstagrammers were telling me that this was a really nice example from the 100 series. So yeah, I've really enjoyed having a look at this one actually. These 100 series beers always turn out to be very nice, and I mean, it doesn't do anything I wouldn't expect it to do, to be honest with you. I mean, I know Nelson Sauvin quite well, and I think I've had a few single hop Nelson Sauvin beers before, but you know, it gives exactly what I want. It gives exactly what I would want, and it shows the properties of the hop quite well, and that's exactly what it's intended to do. So thumbs up to OO Brewing in this one. I think they've highlighted this hop very, very well. So yeah, I do hope that they do a 100 Enigma at some stage. I think we've had Citra, we've had Amarillo, we've had Idaho 7, and now we've had this one. I think, is there another 100 that we've had before? I can't remember, but yeah, I do hope that they do an Enigma. A Strata could be good as well at some point. It'd be nice to see them, you know, I'd love to see them do more of the 100 series. I'd love to see them do a 100 West as well. A 100 East and a 100 West would be an interesting thing. I've said this at various points, but yeah, I can see why some of the guys are telling me that this is, you know, potentially one of the best, potentially the best 100 series that they've had so far. So I don't know, I can't remember the other ones well enough to tell you whether that's right or not, but it's certainly a very, very nice example from these kind of single and double hopped beers that OO Brewing do. That's definitely a fair statement to make. But yeah, have a go at this one for yourself if you can get the chance. So yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, to round off the review, you know, it's well rounded. Carbonation is very, very smooth. The beer has a nice little bit of oiliness to it, which I think works very, very well. That helps bring out some of these kind of gooseberry flavours, and gooseberry and white green grapey flavours a little bit more, which I like. But yeah, I think this one, it has a nice level of oiliness to it, a nice bit of smoothness. That's what you want. So I would describe this beer as being kind of top end to mid-bodied maybe. Carbonation's very, very smooth. The mouthfeel, it has a bit of that smoothness to it. I think the oats start to come out of this beer a little bit more the further you go into the aftertaste. It does get a little bit more kind of oaty, and there's almost a wee bit of dryness comes out from the oats, interestingly. But yeah, there's a good bit of oily character in there to kind of back it up as well. But in terms of IBUs, this is your standard 25-30 IBU New England IPA. The malt base, like I say, very, very smooth. I think it dries out a little bit and gives you more kind of almost like powdered oats a little bit the further you go into the aftertaste. But yeah, a little degree of sweetness in the malt as well. Good little bit of kind of floral aromatic quality to the hops, and then a nice big oily fruity character. Exactly what you would want from Nelson Sauvin. So yeah, I think that is a good place to kind of round off this review. I really enjoyed this one. I love the Nelson Sauvin hop, so you know I kind of knew that I was going to. Brewing are a very good brewery, as we know already, but it's always cool to try different beers from this series. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one then. I hope you enjoyed this review. Thank you as always for watching. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Brewing. You will see another couple of beers from the 100 and the 50/50 series over the next few videos. Like I say, lots of Swedish beers to crack on through over the next couple of weeks, so you will see the reviews coming thick and fast. But yeah, thank you for watching. Check out all my social media, check out Brewing, and I'll catch you guys very soon. This one was the 100 Nelson Sauvin, 6.5% New England Hazy IPA from the 100 series at Brewing in Hisingen, Gothenburg on the west coast here in Sweden. Slanja, skål, cheers. Catch you guys on the next one.